much, everyone, to be here and seeing that there is still a very strong attendance. And thank you very much for Emirates for a topic which I think and I believe is very close to our hearts, having our families, our colleagues, and our people traveling every day throughout quite a complex region. And this is giving me a getaway to introduce you to my colleagues here. So I'm not going to give you the names, each and every one. Please link to LinkedIn to see them. But for the sake of time and for the value of your time, we'll go directly and hit to it. So today the topic is about building security talent for business resilience. And I had a narrative when I came this morning, but I was quite impressed by the Vanguard presentation we had this morning. Yeah, for those of you who came here in the morning and were able to enjoy the AI teaser regarding that. And yes, I think the outcome was that, yeah, I was thinking, do we really need to do this topic today about talent when we know that we will be obsolete in probably 3-4 months? And I believe yes. If anything, the human aspect of what we see today, and which has just been quite vividly explained by the head of security for Emirates, is about decision. Okay, is about context. And where we can all agree that context is important, I believe that human aspect is also extremely important as we navigate this complex environment. So let me start this with you guys regarding the talent. So I will go through certain questions. And as we agreed, so Greg, so what are the key skills and competencies today if we talk about talent?
Encounter a wide range of complex security challenges today, and to effectively enhance business resilience, security professionals must develop a diverse set of skills and competencies. These capabilities will not only address current threats, but also enable organizations to anticipate and adapt to the emerging risks. And I've categorized or grouped some of the key core key skills and competencies, and I'll start with cybersecurity in the first one. Although cybersecurity is a standalone function in all our organizations, we can only help but assist cybersecurity within our organizations by understanding and making an understanding of the current cyber threats, vulnerabilities, and vector attacks, and having a knowledge of security frameworks. Second one, crisis management and incident response. Fairly obvious one. Most of us do this throughout the year in our roles, and that's creating crisis management tabletop exercises and scenarios and aligning scenarios with the emerging risks, as well as developing and executing crisis response plans. Effective communications, crisis communications, very important topic, as well as business continuity and the disaster recovery plans. Another one, risk assessment and management, identifying, analysing and prioritising risks across cybersecurity, physical security, as well as supply chain management as well as the digital landscape. And threat intelligence and analysis, monitoring and analysing geopolitical developments and cyber threats, and also translating intelligence into actionable business insights. So those are the first kind of what I've put into a group of 4 core key skills and competencies.
Very good. I see there is a lot. Yeah, it's quite a lot. So in terms of skills, and I will not dig further on what can be more priority on the others. What I will dig here and what I will highlight, it's about, and I heard it through the previous forum, it's about how authenticate and how authentic the communication should be and how transparent. I think, the forum this morning was saying about that. In terms of crisis, there is a need to be quite transparent on that. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, a good, I would say, segue to you, Phillip, regarding how do you see all these beautiful pillars we just mentioned about cyber, risk, crisis management, leadership, fitting on culture?
So If we look at it just from a technology point of view, we're going to be missing 50% of the puzzle.
No. Stop. Repeat it again.
If we're going to focus just on technology,
Yeah.
we're going to miss 50% of the puzzle.
Very good.
Right. So it is about people. It is about making sure people have the muscle memory and are trained correctly so they action and support what the technology and what the information it gives. So what I mean by this is it's all well and good having the right tools in place and the right procedures and the right processes. But as people, everyone from the top down, it starts with leadership, needs to make sure everyone actions the processes a certain way to make sure they can actually deliver on the security. And if something happens, have the resilience to bounce back from it. And I think this question, to be honest, was answered by a combination of all the presentations and panels earlier today as well. This is more like a quick summary that I've tried to do here. But bottom line is, we need to understand that security is a combination of different departments. It's the right hand talking to the left hand. It's not about a matrix environment. And I'm going to say it because I refused to say it before, but I just want to point out, I didn't want to use the word silo, but I'm having to use it right now. But it's a matrix setup a lot of organizations have. As bigger they get, the more matrix they become, and departments don't talk to each other. But security and resilience is IT, it's HR, it's marketing even, because you've got to do damage control. And as a leader, you have to make yourself obsolete. If you're doing your job correctly as a leader, you should not be needed because your team can function and act, security, resilience, any aspect of their job without your leadership there. Then you've succeeded as a leader. And then you pass it over.
Okay, so you summarized it quite long.
I tried. Sorry.
But it's a good summary on this. But what I'm taking from what you just said, it's about the human aspect of it, and I agree it is.
Yep.
But also regarding the ability to be vulnerable to that.
Of course.
To the rest of the team.
You have to be. You've got to listen. You've got to adapt. And at the end of the day, no one has a monopoly on great ideas. But if you put the processes and functions down correctly and everyone follows them, it becomes normal procedure, then that security culture starts evolving organically itself. And that's what we need to do. And there's too many instances where that has not happened, or it happens for the short term.
And it's not sustainable.
At all.
So we have the talent, we have the brain, we have the AI, we have everything. How do we retain these people? Andrew?
Good question. Do we have 20 minutes?
Yeah, I know you don't, but...
I think we all know the usual, that obviously attracting talent, salary plays a role, all the extras, whether it's a bonus, the allowances. But nowadays there's a lot more to it. I think corporate culture, I think we've discussed that earlier, is very important. Do you fit in? Is it the right fit for you? There's also looking at the career opportunities. No one, or not everyone, wants to stay stagnant for 5 or 10 years on the same job. And learning and development, I think it plays a big role. But I want to touch on 2 areas that maybe is not discussed a lot. And one is how security is perceived by the organization. Often it's seen as being in its own box on the side and not a part of the main organization. And I think if we're going to attract the top talent in security, your organization needs to make sure that security is embedded, integrated throughout. I think Aaron touched on this in the earlier panel a little. Why don't people come if they're traveling, for example, and ask the security function for some advice on safety, risk, threat? What about cyber? Do we just put it in IT, or should it work with the security team? We just had that ourselves in our own organization. We have 70,000 contract staff, and they use a lot of apps. There's a lot of emails going, and we've just upgraded our own security protocols for email. It caused us here in the Middle East a lot of headache, but we appreciate it's been done now to make sure that all the information shared with us, clients, suppliers, is secure and safe. And I think it's just really getting the security function into the main organization. Some of the more successful organizations we've worked with have that habit that when a new person joins, they spend a bit of time in every department. And I think that's important, get to know them, and then be comfortable to work together. And because of time, very quickly, the other area I want to touch upon was the generational differences that we're now facing. We don't always see it, but we now, for the first time ever, have 5 different generations in the workforce. This has never been seen before. We still have a few of the silent generation. We have the baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, which were known as the millennials, and Gen Z. And they all have different thought processes, ways of working, experience to skills, and we have to embrace it all and bridge that gap so that we can work amongst all the generations. I know a lot of people see Gen Z as sort of disruptors. They've grown up with social media, smartphones, where a lot of us didn't. And we need to embrace them because they have a skill set that we will need. And in only 2 to 3 years, we're going to have the alpha generation joining the workforce. And these are savvy kids making money at home, millions behind a smartphone. And they're going to be the ones that develop our next range of applications, with the new AI involved. So we do have to embrace all of that. And to give an example, if we take the whole continent of Africa, it's in the next 10 years expected that 50% of the population will be 25 or under. So that's going to be 50%. That's nearly the alpha and the beta generation. So I think we just have to find a way now to accept that, yes, there is communication differences, ways of working. We have experience on one level, but we need this new sort of tech-savvy ones coming in who are learning the new ways. Anyone who was here earlier in the week will have heard that Sheikh Mohammed announced that in Dubai in the government schools, AI will now be a lesson in the next academic year. And that's starting at kindergarten all the way through. So that generation is going to come in learning things that we never did, have a better understanding when they join the workforce. So I think all of that together, amongst with what I said, is what we need to do to attract, retain talent. But I will pick on that security function as we're here, that it shouldn't be in its own bubble. It really needs to be a part of the process and solution, not a part of the problem.
And again, bouncing back on this is so what I'm understanding is that the salary is not everything, the bonus is not everything, the benefit is not everything. Okay, so we will have a side discussion after that. But my understanding also for the rest of the room is that your company released a benchmark of salaries regarding the security industry, I believe.
Yes, we did. We've got every year we have a report. We do a salary survey in the security sector and then release a report. And of course, anyone wants a copy, please come and see me or my colleague, Soumya, who's dressed in red.
Very good. If anyone is not happy about the current benefit he has, so you have the person to go to see. And for the sake of time, Nathan, we have, I think, the right combo here. So we have the emotional intelligence, we have the diversity, we have the processes, we have the right package and incentive. How do we ensure that we and the people around this room remain relevant and not obsolete as the world is going crazy now? How do we do to remain really in continuous training and learning?
So I think, the word we're starting to hear more and more over the last few years refreshingly is professionalism. Gone are the days where the security guard, the static security guard, was the guy in the hut with no AC. So, there's lots of courses out there. And I also think simplicity and the human touch. Keeping things simple, getting to know that person, and that goes to the onboarding stage. Your first touch point with the potential candidate is at that interview stage. You know what you want, you know the qualities, so you're not on a checklist. Tick in, yes, you give that person a scenario, you try to gauge that person at the onboarding stage, so right person for the right job. Once you get your team together, if I start at from the bottom up, if we look at the static guards, and I'll try and use real life scenarios here. If I look at our facility in Jebel Ali, where we, at peak we have 5,000 craft. These guys do a great job protecting our main assets, our people, and then the facility. So a real case scenario for us is we actually rolled out a employee development program, which was actually accredited by the City and Guilds. This not only empowers them, it gives them an internationally recognized qualification. Now, as leaders, these static guards will not always report to us, but it's important we get to our report to report to them and have the message cascaded down to make sure they have that empowerment. And again, a real case scenario, I like to join those guys twice a year. We have our biannual, we reflect on the first half of the year, what went well, what didn't go so well, where can we improve, we give a pat on the back, but also I invite the leadership team in, or at least one or two. Again, that word empowerment, they tell them how important the job is. And then we have our end of season wrap up. Again, same kind of thing. So I think that's at the core face. Okay, and like I say, you have your development programs. As you move up the grade or up the chain, if you like, of course, you're looking at different areas. Some areas are more volatile than others. Again, you're looking at the interview stage, the experience. You know, CVs can be written very well. When you speak to that person, it may not always add up. So, you know, that first interaction, I think, is very important. Once onboarded, you know, it's setting goals, annual goals, and these goals have to be smart. I'm not gonna insult the audience what smart means, but you know, you have to make sure you're setting those smart goals with your team members, and that gives you the metric. You have to have the check-ins, you know, where they're going with those goals. Are the goals on track? And then, of course, that leads to the end of the year, you know, annual appraisal. So I think, in a nutshell, simplicity, right person, right job, setting the goals, maintaining that touch points, making sure the goals are being kept on track, and then, of course, the end of year appraisal and the human touch and empowerment. Because, you know, like I said, I'm sure we've all seen in this room where, you know, maybe we still see it to this day, where they're kind of shouted at, move up the wage, you know who I am, you know, lift the barrier up. But thankfully, we've seen a shift from that. So I think, maybe in a nutshell, that's probably from the coal face up to the management on the more volatile projects, should we say?
No, thank you very much for that, Nathan. And I think what we touch here is the different pillar of how the talent should be built. It's not in a vacuum. It's a multitude of entangled and complementary processes. And what I like regarding what we just discussed is that there is a very acute human aspect on what we discussed. And I believe this is, if there's any reassurance we can give you, is that we are here for still some times. We are also fortunate to have also CIRA part of this conference every year, and this is important from the fact that they are bringing a standard and they are bringing guidance in terms how you develop, how you certify, and how you ensure the relevance of the security professional in UAE and beyond, from the security officer to the leadership roles. So I think we are extremely good on time. We'll give, because we are very good on time, is there any question you want to have for the forum before we close it? We did a great job, so thank you very much, guys. Have a good day and a good conference. Thank you. Thank you again, guys.